Say hi, give kudos to his wife.
Yes,
Ugh.
Magic Ghost. So, um, anyway, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the comic book industry. Um, more so from our perspective growing up, because there's comics that we tend to read, we get inspired by, and we start doing. And I don't know, I just wanted to reflect on those things because um, just to get hopefully as new people are coming in to watch these shows, they go to see, okay, what inspired the stuff we're creating now, what they can check out, and maybe get curious about other things. So, um, going back to what we normally talk about, since we talked about old stuff, what like wanted what made you want to start reading Boiled Angel when it first came out?
Oh, it was
Because that's
dirty.
one of the it was dirty.
He had backwards in it, and it looked like.
Yeah,
I mean, with all due respect, I'm not saying Mike Dan is a piece of shit artist, but it just looked like that garbage art that you just love, that
right.
garbage, like nasty, gross art. And again, I'm not saying that his art sucks. Like, there's a real beauty to his art in a way, but I
Yeah,
just drew it because I think it just made me laugh like an asshole, and that was funny about that. Like, it's kind of like Johnny Ryan. Like Johnny Ryan draws his
right.
cartoons right here. See, barely human.
I love Johnny Ryan.
Yeah, Johnny Ryan. Yeah, it's funny because Edith and her friend, him and we like, I just brought this book and they all read it, and I think Anthony was like kind of like, what the fuck was that kind of like, but they enjoyed it. They thought it was funny as shit, you know.
Right. Well, yeah, because we went to that horror con. We all rented that house, and we were just. It was funny too, because uh, around that time, you and I went, started commingling with other creators and doing business stuff, and they went off to do their own stuff. And I, I, I always look back and I was like, yeah, you need relationships that understand um, where you come from, what you're doing, and all that good stuff. And not only that too, but it allowed us to like talk about comics with other comic creators that they enjoy. The reason why I liked Boiled Angel was because of maybe it's because it was like growing up in the '90s, grunge is big, heavy metal like thrash metal became huge because of Metallica and all that stuff, and even some grunge bands started doing metal, like for instance, Alice in Chains started doing more metal type songs.
Yeah.
But the artwork, like, it definitely represented the time, and I liked how he, when he made his artwork, is very unapologetic. This is who I am. This is the freedom of press, the freedom, of speech that we enjoy, and he was just pushing that boundaries, and or some that not that boundaries, but those boundaries, and it was fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Boiled Angel was fantastic, gore filled, and hilarious. Exactly, dude.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just like it's just shit. It just makes fun of the most awful shit. And
right.
nobody knows how to do that anymore because they go like, "Oh, well, this is horrible and stuff and it's offensive." It's like, yeah, that's what it's meant to be doing. It's supposed to upset you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like about kids eating each other, like just making fun of really fucked up, like like stuff like that you wouldn't find funny, like like child abuse and all that. And people like going, "Oh, that means it's mocking it." It's like, well, it's mocking the people that do it because it's like, I mean, when you kind of look at about it, and it's like it's not in the stereotypical, well, abuse is everywhere. It's like nobody really looks at what abuse for what it really is.
Right.
And I'm not of the thing that everybody's abusive. I'm just talking about like when I wrote something on Facebook, it was more of like, stop lying to yourself about shit, you guys, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And what made me really, in my later years, really fall in love with Boiled Angel is because it definitely fought for creator rights and what it meant to have, freedom of press, freedom of speech. Because without Boiled Angel, like there would not be comic books on the mainstream shelves had that gentleman not unfortunately go through what he went through within the legal system for being blamed for horrific crimes he had nothing to do with just
And then they try to
because.
fuck him over more for being responsible in a way, which is
Yeah,
sad.
which was ridiculous because like it's okay for and again around that time they were trying to blame rap and heavy metal music for school shootings and video games for that stuff, and it's just like we had those issues long before heavy metal and video games existed, and the fact that this creator created this satire comic that just explored life on the underground scenes from his worldview. Because again, it was drawn, he was taking the jokes from, from his own realm with his own friends, his own people that he listened to, and he created those jokes, and it was doing really well in the underground. And the fact that he just got associated with something really horrific, um, it's a testament to like how art should push the boundaries and how art should really make people think, and that's why I like your comic Demon Bitch, because it's, you're doing the same thing, and I think that's why you and I connected so when we first met, because we were talking about that, like, unfortunately people just don't get satire nowadays. They think it's, something that it's not, and it's really taking a hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because like with Demon Bitch, it's meant to be kind of like foul and making fun of things that you don't want to make fun of. But at the same time, it's like making fun of the shit that we seem to enable half the time. Like, if you see me
Right.
looking down, I'm still drawing the
Oh,
current
you're
Demon
good.
Bitch. But but yeah, like for me, I'm kind of at this point now where it's like, I'm just, and I don't like the call out culture. Like I get it. You want to call out
Hmm.
bad behavior, but what you determine as bad behavior is actually really the surface of bad behavior a lot of the time. Like there's
Right.
more fucking dysfunctional things that are happening. And it's kind of like, are you doing this to make yourself feel better or not? Because I think what I like about underground comics for the most part is that they don't pretend to be anything more about themselves than they already are.
Right.
I find in more mainstream comics or more indie comics, people try to go on their high horse and preach about shit rather than tell a story. And I'm not saying you can't talk about morals and shit in comics, but it's getting to a point where it's getting kind of stupid. It's like, well, I think I'm right because I know better, and I'm like, go shut up or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Well, I mean, this is why I sometimes question those things, because there's a few comic books, as an editor, that normally gets hired to help edit people's books to be on time, and make sure they're not getting ripped off, because that when they're new to the comic industry, because they just want good comics to be out there. Um, how like that culture has kind of sapped the love out of comics, because there was like, and I found it hypocritical, because there was one particular comic where the cover was a very sexy woman in a very sexy pose, and all of a sudden down at Artist Alley, you had all these people shaming the writer and the artist, like, why did you guys do this? Like, whatever. But then they would go to Top Cow's booth and DC's booth and all this, and they were buying covers that were just as explicit or not, but because they weren't part of the mainstream, it wasn't okay. And I just found that so hypocritical. And I,
Yeah.
I think that's why I love indie comics, is because, like, in true indie comic form, like, you should not care what people try to tell you what the mainstream is. Like, this is a medium for people to express themselves, talk about themselves, and show their worldview from whatever story that they're trying to tell. And you can love it or hate it, but let the person be the person, you know.
Yeah.
You don't, and I think, for some folks, they've lost sight of that a little bit, from at least what I could tell, you know, as an editor, and I kind of find it very weird. But then again, the Europeans, when they saw the book cover, they loved it to death, and they bought a bunch of copies of the cover, because their culture is a lot different than ours, which I found interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like Europe is different. Like comics are a different art form than anything else.
Right.
So, yeah.
Those books pull zero punches. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
it's like I've got an erotic book that's erotic comics. I've got all these other things, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think the reason why we're also attracted to the underground scene more so is because it allows us to know what the person actually thinks, and they challenge the way we think too. Because if it weren't for Boiled Angel, I don't think I would have ever got into Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Yeah, I
And
think that's more indie though too, right?
yeah, right. But but what he was saying about the comic book industry as a whole like, because that itself was a commentary on the comic book industry, because the character had to kill all these people to feed this blood stain on the wall. And in a way, it was about the author saying, I have to follow all these rules and regulations to
Mhm.
keep this monster happy.
Mhm.
And it was very subversive. And when he came out and started talking about what the book was really about, it really, really made me think about, like, I have to reread Boiled Angel. And that's why when you and I were started talking, I started rereading that stuff, because I admittedly, when I was a young kid, I just saw the cool images. I was like, that's awesome. you know it was like, remind me a lot of, like, the horror movies coming around that time, and in just like Spawn and all that stuff. So anything that looked demonically evil cool, I was gonna buy. And so I missed some of the earlier stories that I read because I just didn't understand, because I was just too young. But as I got older, it made me appreciate them a lot more. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I always love it when creators, like, push the boundary in that subversive way to make you think. And I think that's what's missing in comic books, you know, by and large today. Like, there's no, room for artistic expression, for interpretation right now, which I find interesting for such an artistic medium.
Well, I think sometimes people look at the subversive like, oh, I'm going to do these stupid ass things. It's like, that's kind of subversive. But it's kind of like I kind of want to yawn at people like that. It's like, oh yeah, okay, you went out and gangbanged a bunch of people. Who gives a fuck? Oh, you
Yeah.
went and did a bunch of. Everybody's done that, you dumbass. Like, whatever, I don't care. If you want to do it, that's you. But it's like you're not doing anything new. That's the thing that's annoying to me. Is like people are like, I'm doing this thing that I did. I said, oh, go look at fucking Henry and June.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
and even then, like when you read Henry and June, okay, it's in a piece of erotica, very beautifully
Yeah.
written, wonderful, great how she thinks and stuff. But when you really look at it on the surface, she's a real fucking selfish asshole. I mean, she's looking around on her husband, who's actually a
Yeah.
good guy to her. So it's like I understand the psychology. We all think all sorts of random things, but then she's doing that shit, and you're like, all right, whatever.
Right, and that's what art should do. You want some brutal and to take no prisoner comic books? Read Bill and the Bull by Beyond Beyond Press, Hart D. Fisher. Ooh,
Oh,
I gotta
Boneyard
check that
Press,
out.
Boneyard Press.
Boneyard Press. My bad. Sorry. Today, because I was running late, I didn't have the chance to set up the rig, so I'm using my cell phone.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately. But no, yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Yeah, like, I don't know. I find the people coming up indie now. It's because I remember when comic books used to be a lot more heavy metal and punk rock, take no prisoners, and now it's like people are afraid to go there when it used to be such more of a vibrant culture. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's because the cool kids infiltrated comics and now are trying to dictate what comics should be, versus what they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I can't help but think that a
Hmm.
little bit, because I know I mean, if it weren't for Red Room, and a few other comic books like that, like, I don't think uh the diehard comic fans would have something to grasp hold to with that kind of mindset. I mean, I know Image Comics still does pushes some boundaries, and the relaunching of certain Vertigo titles on DC Black Label is kind of like opening new readers to new ideas. But as by far and large, I think Red Room and Love and Rockets are the only thing I think that are pushing those artistic boundaries right now. Just being honest, without being trying to be safe about it.
Well, there's also Cross too. Cross is pretty
Oh
fucking
yeah,
gnarly. Cross,
yeah,
as I was saying in the show earlier, Cross is hard to read after a while. Like you read only one issue, you're good. Like it's not that it sucks, okay? And I keep
yeah,
enunciating people, it's a good book. It's too good because it's really fucked up. Same thing with
yeah,
Red Room. Like I can read some of it, but it's like after a while, I'm like, okay, that's a bit much. And you know
yeah,
me, I can handle a lot of shit, but it's just like I don't know. Red Room is hard to digest because it's literally the background is about people basically murdering. It's snuff films on camera, and it's like this
Yeah.
whole show about it, like WWE, except they're killing people in really horrific ways. Now, I've seen people get killed in comics like really horrific ways, but there's something about Red Room that kind of fucks with me. Same thing with Crossed. And
Yeah.
it's like there's no hope of anything. It's just depressing, it's just sad or fucked up in a way. It's just, I would give the writers credit for making the book that good and to disturb me that much, but it's a bit much for me to read. But I'm not saying don't ever read it. Just know what you're going in for, buddy, because it's pretty bad.
Well, I think the reason why we feel that way with Red Room is because of the real life implications of it, right? Like those kinds of rooms actually do exist, and they made horror movies based off of them. There's been court cases. I mean, there for a while, in like the early 2000s, there was the World Pain World Records thing, where like people would literally mutilate themselves for a chance to make $1 million, and that was a
Yeah.
huge thing all over the news. What in 2010, 2011, and the
Mhm.
fact that that stuff does happen, I think that's the reason why it makes us uncomfortable, because here the artist and writer, he is creating, opening our eyes to this world and asking us, why do we think this is okay? What is it does that say about our humanity that we are intrigued by this intensified pain of someone else? Why would we want to watch someone suffer? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Why do we enjoy horror movies and sit there and want to be scared, want to see the protagonist suffer like they do in a horror film? And that's some deep, philosophical questions that he asks in those books. No one should dictate what a comic should or should not be. Agreed. Agreed. But yeah, no one should ever dictate what a comic should or should not be. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much, comics are being censored right now. I mean, one of the comics that broke my heart that recently got censored that I gave Christie, um, and Amazon finally brought it back after people were complaining that they didn't understand the historical context, was Master Race. When me and Christie, what show was it that I gave you that book? I can't even remember. Yeah, it
Oh,
doesn't matter.
Comic-Con.
Comic Con. So so when we went to go to Comic Con, I gave her a recently banned book that just got unbanned, called Master Race by Bernard Kingston. And the reason why it was banned was because of the Nazi imagery on the cover and
Yeah.
inside the book. But what people don't understand the history of that book was when Bernard Kingston created Master Race for EC Comics, which is funny. Uh, Side note, Christie's like, oh, this is looks like the guy that used to draw the
Tales from the
Tales from the
Crypt.
Crypt. I was like, no, that is the guy that drew from Tales from the Crypt. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna love this. And anyway, and Bernard Kingston, he was a soldier in World War II. He saw the horrors of what the Nazis did to the Jews. And then, during the time that he created this strip for EC Comics, um, like the Cannes Film Festival just banned a documentary about the what happened to the Jews in the concentration camps. Completely banned it. And because there's still Nazi sympathizers all over the world at this point, and they were trying to bury the horrific thing that they did to the Jewish community. And Bernard Kingston said, "F that, people need to know." And he draws what happened to them, and he's unapologetic. What Hitler burning books, burning Torahs, destroying and hurting people that believed in other religions that might side with Judaism. It just and let us know just how dark and depressing it was.
Well,
And
there's also Mossad going after them and shit, like that guy going
yeah.
after him on the subway. It's like Mossad was, you don't fuck with Mossad.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't. Like, there's been movies, like, I think Berlin was another one. I say
Right.
Berlin like the people in Germany because, but it's funny because it's like what kind of, like, I guess it's like the Nazi regime, like at Nuremberg, they try to get out of like half the shit. They said, no, we destroyed them and stuff. It's like, yeah, but you fuckers were too good at keeping records. Like, apparently that, yeah, even though they burned a substantial amount of stuff, the fact that they documented everything so well, it's like, well, that fucked you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and if it weren't for that, and that's why I always tell people, like, never be afraid to address world life real life struggle and problems in comics because, like to this day, comic artists will get a copy of Master Race from Bernard Kingston and just study how he did art. You know what I mean? In fact, Jack Kirby even admitted that he loved how it did. And that's why, for a long time, Master Race was considered the Citizen King of comic books because it's the first time we ever saw someone try to draw what it would look like on a comic book page, watching someone pass by uh, through a train and just standing still as you see all the passengers pass by in the camera frame. That was the first time in comic history that we saw someone try to emulate that in other techniques as well. I know like the technique it's branded different ways. From I forget it where it's like I forget the names escape me now, but that's one of the comic stories that it implemented that,
Mhm.
where like we get to see through the paneling the guy running and he's wobbly and he's about to fall over because before then comics were very static. It was like sitting down, all of a sudden he's outside, then he's standing by the window. As in Master Race, it's like he's sitting down, he gets up, he starts walking towards the window, he's at the window. It really opened up what storytelling was for the very first time. And it impacted the comic book world. You know what I mean? And and that's what I love about indie comics. Like people sometimes crap on indie comics, but indie comics changed the game on so many levels, so many times in the comic industry. It's insane, you know?
Yeah. Too many gatekeepers and they are not fun. I've seen so many independent artists and creators lately, and it's amazing what they do. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, that's why I kind of like to leave it open for stuff like that. So,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it right now about stuff like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, as I said, comics is comics, it's like it's a medium.
right.
And I've heard like there's been debates between the two, and it's interesting how film and comics intersect with each other too. It's almost like storyboarding, except not. But then again, a lot
Right.
of comics are made into movies, but you already got the storyboards right there, pretty much. So it's kind of interesting in how much a lot of storyboards like go into this, that, the other thing.
Yeah. And I'm glad you pointed that out because, like, the two biggest indie movie guys of all time, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, essentially just took Sin City and said, here's the script, here's the storyboards. We're going to shoot everything verbatim of how it's in the book. You know what I mean? And at the time, that blew everyone away. But at the same time, us comic book fans, like, yeah, go like, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you just tell the whole story? And that film blew up at the box office back in the day. You know, even more so when people went out to rent it. I know now we're dating ourselves since I said renting a movie, but
Right. Right. So
yeah.
there you go, right there.
Uh, so now, going into your realm of things, what inspired you from these great movements of independent comics that we grew up on, inspired you to get into doing Demon Bitch the way you do?
I think being in punk, like, by the way, I want to tell you guys, like, it's not just because I'm in punk rock because I do this. I've always been a fan of fucked up artwork. I've always been a fan of weird little cartoons. Always been a fan of strange things. It is what it is. It's just like I just felt like drawing, like just demented stuff. I've always liked demented stuff. That's what like. I think I've been a fan of underground comics because it was just different. It wasn't like, oh, it's Garfield. No, I like Garfield. Okay, Garfield's awesome, and my friend Dallas does this weird shit. If you don't catch the show by Hyde Hermit, it's like earlier in the week, but they're drawing all sorts of weird shit. You know.
Yeah.
So there
Well,
you go.
it's funny you mentioned Garfield because Garfield actually has a morbid joke in it. So back in the 70s when Garfield was created, he used to have um a person that used to live with him. I can't remember the character's name, but they were like they lived together, as roommates.
Mhm.
And Garfield during like 1981 said, where's so and so? He's like, oh, he went to go grab something from the basement, and then the character completely disappeared. But in the 90s, when the internet boom happened and you played the Garfield game, you when you went through the entire house, you went down to the basement, there is the old roommate chained to the wall, all beat up in the basement in the background.
You
So
know,
that's
it reminds me of like that game with Garfield. I forgot what it's called, but they did it kind of like Resident Evil or like Clock Tower, and
yeah, it's
and
that one. It's
it's done
that
in
one.
the style of the NES where he's like going, "I can smell your fear, John." And it's good. It's like how that guy
Yeah.
animated like that weird like Game Boy shit. It was so funny. We were laughing, and it was just
Oh,
like, and it's like the ending to the game. Like it's not an actual game, but if anybody
yeah.
knows it, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was funny when the internet boom boom that they finally admitted that John just keeps him in the basement all chained up. And the
John,
fact that like you have to be a hardcore comics fan to know about that type
I
thing.
don't know
Because
about that. I know Garfield used to be like fatter, and actually, there's like this
yeah.
Korean thing called Kitty Saurus. It used to be called Cream Heroes, where Momo
Hmm.
kind of looks like him, like, but he's like he's like called the chairman and stuff. So that's kind of funny and all that stuff too. But yeah, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's yeah. Um, I don't know, man. I'm just glad to see like when I got to meet you, seeing Demon Bitch coming about and doing what you were doing and seeing the following you generated. So like there are still people that are open to artistic expression and artistic like license, right? Um, it warms my heart that there's still people that think like this should be a freedom of press thing, a freedom of speech thing. Because there for a while, man, I was getting kind of brokenhearted because I'm like helping these artists and writers, to keep their book on time, being a good editor. Like, oh, you need me to ink something, you need me to letter something, I'll help out. And then, like then getting shamed at a show, and I'm like, really? And but then here you come along and you set up your stuff, and you're like, nope, I'm me. Like this is my art. And you either accept it or you don't. And that was just so refreshing. It was just like replenished my soul so much. I'm just going to be honest. And I think that's why, like, we get along so great too, is, you view comics like I do. It should be, you know, about self-expression, being who you are, and I think people lost sight of that, sadly, in the
Well,
current economics.
you know what? Hold on to that thought. Pops is gonna pop on, and I got to take a quick break. But I think we're gonna take a quick break right here, right, Pops?
What's up? What's up?
Sponsors.
I guess I'll play a commercial. What the hell? We
There
had to
we
cut
go.
this one off a minute ago, so we cut this one off at the end of the last show. So I'll play this one.
Okay, you can see the
Fantastic.
I actually got.
We've all heard the stories. We've all heard the legends. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, Billy the Kid. But there's a secret history to the Old West. One that seems too strange to be true, but, well, we all know what they say about the truth. Very big ape, very big guns, blowing very big holes, very bad people. I think the world is finally ready to hear the story of the strangest, the most startling Western hero of them all. Six-gun gorilla, long days of vengeance.
Dude, that trailer was awesome.
Yeah, it's apparently the story behind that is that actually was a character that actually went into, I don't know how long ago it was created, but it was
Yeah, it was public domain for a long time, and when Brian went to pull it out of mothballs, somebody else pulled it out of mothballs at the exact same time.
Oh, okay.
So they were like two totally different books called Six Gun Gorilla, right? At the same time. And Brian tried to like be nice to Dude, but Dude was kind of a
hear about it.
But yeah, he took that right now. There's eight issues into the series, and he went over to Zoop and put his trade up there, the trade paperback, and you can also get issues 9 and 10.
Nice.
So he went over there to test the waters at Zoop for us, basically. You know,
right on.
So you can check that Six Gun Gorilla out at Zoop right now, the trade and issues 9 and 10. And Brian's a really good dude, man. As a matter of fact, he'll be out here at CromCon, so you know. Philip, I'm telling you, get a spot, bro. There's 4 spots left. Get a spot.
Claim a spot.
I will.
Eastern time, just to let you know, because I'm going to be at 12 and 1 o'clock. I mean, my official spot is at 1, but I'm going to probably come in a little bit earlier just to say hi to Lucifer Storm and all those other fuckers.
There are
Fantastic.
3 spots left in the afternoon, evening on Saturday, and 1 spot left in the late afternoon on Sunday. See it?
Oh, there we go. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna see if I can get Gazelle and DL to come with me and to get us some of those spots, because that would be awesome.
I would grab the spot now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll grab the again. What time frame you got? What time frame you got?
We got the 29th or the 30th. Which day? Saturday or Sunday?
I'll do the 29th.
Okay.
I'll do the 28th.
The 29th, you have 4:30 in the afternoon, 6 p.m. or 6:30.
I'll do 4:30 in the afternoon.
All right, you're in.
Fantastic.
Just like that. See how easy that is? Sign up for
Yes. That's awesome, man.
And yes, you can talk about whatever you got going on, dude. Even, you know, if you just want to talk about your show, the whole thing is to bring awareness to whatever you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
So, there's 3 spots left in CromCon. Okay, I'm up.
Well, hey, Pops, can we go ahead and play an ad for CromCon so that people know what it is?
I'm waiting for Doc to give me the new promo card so I can send it over to Lee so we can put it on the front of the video, and then I'll have the video. But I ain't quite got it yet. Yell at Doc. Yell at Doc.
Oh man, this is why I love the Madness Network. So
the other thing we forgot to do, you didn't know, but Christie has an intro.
Ooh.
You want to see it?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right.
More than meets the eye.
Are you the keymaster?
You can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man. No time to talk.
As if.
Man, that so fits your show too, dude.
A lot of bad words and everything. And put in the fucking North Korean shit because everybody. I've actually had people say like, "Are you North Korean?" I'm like, really?
Wow.
No, motherfucker.
Yeah.
My family's American, but my ethnicity is Korean. No, my family's not from North Korea. I guess technically we are because they immigrated from the northern part of Korea, but that was way before the war.
Yeah.
It's just
Dude,
like that's what I've heard from my family. But what's that? That was a beautiful photo of you, Christy. Oh, thank you. It's still up on my Facebook.
Oh. Yeah, no, I need to make a intro and give it to Pops. I've been meaning to. I just haven't had the time. But don't worry, Intro is coming soon.
Well, yeah, and also make sure you tell them that it's approved because I thought I did, and they're like, it hasn't been approved. I'm like, okay, I get it. If I don't approve it, I'm gonna go and burn people. Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, listen, folks. Sorry we were running a little late today, but again, my apologies. I had to go to a doctor's appointment and take care of some really good stuff. Let's see. Oh, okay. You already read the gatekeeper's comment. I thought that was something new. But yeah, thank you, Christy, for coming on the show and stuff. Just sharing about indie comics and all that. Because I don't know, I've been wanting to doing a show like this for a while with this idea, explaining about indie comics, what influenced us, and I think it fit perfectly because of the fact that that's what you and I mostly read. Especially now, Edith got me reading, Matt Fraction's Sex Criminals. Sex Criminals #1 was great. Volume 1. Volume 2, didn't care for it, but I liked where they were pushing the boundary of what a comic can do. Because if you guys haven't read it, it's about people that can stop time if they orgasm and then they go rob stores and stuff. It's actually
I have that book. I have Sex Criminals. I think it's kind of weird. It's weird, but it actually works as a thing. That's the thing.
Right. And then it's those weird ideas that make comics so fun. The more the theater of the absurd a comic book is, I believe, the funner it can be. The more interesting we find the comic pulls us in. At least for us anyway. Again, if it weren't for the indie comic scene and new ideas, I think I would have quit reading comics a long time ago because I got tired of, no offense to anyone, but the big mainstreams, there's just not that many new ideas coming out from the main wheelhouses. It's like they retell old stories, and when you kind of catch on that, you're like, I'll go look at something else. And I'm definitely going to check out the 6-Gun Gorilla that we just advertised. That looks awesome. I like the artwork on it. It looks pretty badass, to be honest.
That's Preston Acevedo took the story over. I can't remember the name of the guy who did the art in the beginning, but he passed away, and Brian had to find somebody else to take over. And Preston Acevedo is the guy, and he's badass, dude. He's
that artwork looks clean, man. It looks clean.
So the dude passed away. This is her 6-Gun Gorilla.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wow.
Let me
Godspeed.
Let me pull that up real quick and put the link up in here. Brian Kriskow, 6-Gun Gorilla. He's also the host of the CG Horror Club show that he has on his channel on Tuesday nights. We show replays on Saturday. What's up, Simon? What's happening, Mr. Inkslayer? What's happening, my friend? But yeah, right here, Zoop. It's on Zoop, 6-Gun Gorilla. Man, it's just badass. That's pretty much all you can say about that particular
question about Zoop. It's the alternative Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
It's one of the, it's one of them. We'll see what happens. We got to test them all out. Lee Newman put his book up on crowdfunder.com to test that one out. We got people doing research for us. But Brian's doing good over here, man. He's almost halfway with 16 days left to go.
That's fantastic.
3 people to back this thing, and this is already a book that's done. I mean, not 9 and 10, the final 2.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at on those, but 1 through 8 are done. I have all the floppies, so you can get the trade paperback, and you can get the floppies of 9 and 10 right here.
Right.
So, dude, it's killer, man. It's a great story. I guarantee you that. Great story.
Yeah, I was hooked on the trailer because when I saw it, I was like, I love the artwork, man. Mm-hmm. The voiceover too was pretty cool because it was talking like the old style Western, like Clint Eastwood, or like one of those novella books. I like that a lot. The lettering now, is the lettering just like how they showed in the trailer, or is the lettering a different style? That fit the images really well.
I'm gonna say it's all the same. It's like this. That's the book I read.
Yeah.
It was an amazing book, man. I mean, amazing 8 books.
Yeah.
Real good.
Ah, dude, that's awesome.
And the story ain't over. Long days of vengeance. We got a couple more long days to go. It's
I love it, dude.
real
I
good
love
stuff.
it. So to close this out here, since we only got a short period of time, what is one indie comic that you guys would? I know we plugged Six Gun Grill pretty heavy, but what is another indie comic that you guys think people should definitely check out? That definitely would push the artistic boundary.
Monster Matador, I think, because it's just fun.
Fantastic. Right on.
Yeah.
What about you, Pops?
I give her that one. And then, oh man, there are so many good books. Smokes the Fox and Weaponized Werewolf.
Okay. Next episode, we gotta talk about Smoke the Fox and Weaponized Werewolf. On those names alone.
I will try to get Justin out here with you. He wanted to do a show during the week because he's adding some new perks to the campaign. So I'll see if I can get him out here so you can meet him and talk to him yourself. But the story
that's just a badass name, Weaponized Werewolf.
The story was written by Mike Barron.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you got an Eisner Award-winning writer, the creators, good dude, man, Justin Belmont Press. But he got a bunch of cool people, man. Tim Vigil, Gerhard, Don Perlin, whole bunch of people, badass people involved in that book. So, we'll talk about it next week. No problem.
Dude, all right. That'd be awesome. All right, y'all heard it, man. We're gonna try to get the creative team behind Weaponized Werewolf on. That'd be awesome. Because that just sounds like a cool name in itself.
Dude. Both the books are awesome. The stories butt together, but I mean they both have their own second issue coming as well, or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like it's 2 different titles, but the stories mesh, So you'll definitely like. I just got done reading Smokes, and I'm like, damn, this is good. But Mike Barron's a writer. He gives you a story that you want to come back for, and you want to come back to. He always leaves you wanting more. That's why I love Mike. All right, we're gonna jump out of here. I'm gonna play Mike's trailer for his new book. What do you think, Christy?
Yes, you should. And Sim, hey, how's it going?
We got to get out of here because Paul Gomez jumping right back in here at 5:00 with realities of publishing comics. Oh yeah, he's got Sam Barrett coming out talking about duty. I don't know if you guys know about duty, but there's an alien in your toilet. Watch out for it. Christie Shinn,
Literally.
Horror Studios, Philip Knox, Comic Pulp. Thank you guys. Great show once again.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good day. Peace.
Bye-bye.
America's southern border has become a war zone. Human traffickers, drug smugglers, and terrorists flow across the Rio Grande with impunity, secure in the knowledge that no one will stop them. A distant federal government lectures Americans on their privilege while punishing overworked Border Patrol agents who were helpless to stem the tidal wave of invaders and determined migrants. Second-generation Cuban-American Marcos Zamora is a military vet, more patriotic than most Americans. No longer able to ignore the chaos at his doorstep, he acts. Joined by his best friend Gus, they hit the border every night, saving lives while stopping violent drug cartels and other opportunists. The government reacts with fury at Marcos' attempts to preserve American sovereignty, deploying the full might of their enforcement agencies. But Marcos understands that the only thing the rich and powerful fear is bad publicity, and he records every encounter. Whoever he is, this private American must be stopped. Illustrated by Richard Bonk and written by Eisner winner Mike Barron, Private American is his version of Captain America, and maybe a little Punisher, taking part in this ongoing, violent, and very real battle of good versus evil in the war for American sovereignty. Grab your copy at theprivateamerican.com.
We have a secure border, and that is a priority for our administration.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals.